Hey, we're back. This is OG Goat, and this is What Part of the Game Is That? We're here with Reverend Marion Hedger, a British psychic, and her topic for today is psychics. Why aren't you checking credentials like any other profession? And the reason why we are coming across this is because a lot of people tend to stereotype psychics as though they are just some fly by night type of profession. And Marion, Reverend Marion, is here to set the record straight. Psychics, why aren't you checking credentials? So today we have Reverend Marion. How are you today?
Hi there, and thank you for this wonderful introduction. You can just call me Marion. Um, I'm okay. I just get, very upset with the subject of psychics because we all get lumped into the same category, and we have qualifications, at least the genuine ones do, and that's where there is a difficulty and where I get upset because I studied for 4 years and became board certified and an ordained spiritualist minister and part of a spiritualist church on the Upper West Side. Had great schooling, and there are a lot of psychics in the world that just see a quick way of parting people with their cash, vulnerable, hurting people. And I come across those a lot every day, and it would break your heart if you could hear some of the stories.
Okay, great. So, what you're saying is, let me get this straight now. You're saying that you're not a typical psychic that people would see on the street or with these little signs out. You're saying that you come with credentials and professionalism that qualify you as an ordained minister and a psychic. Is that correct?
That is correct. I try to differentiate myself wherever I can. I keep my rates on the low end of average deliberately, even though some people that I actually trained, because I've been teaching psychic development, have doubled and even tripled their rates. And I swore, I'm doing this to help people, not to steal from people. So if I want to be different, I have to differentiate. I have bills and things to pay for like everybody else, but that my main prerogative is to help people. And that's what I try to do. I keep lists of, I'm the only psychic I know who keeps lists of referrals, therapists, and other businesses for these people in need. And I just give those lists over, and sometimes I even recommend things to help people.
Interesting, interesting. So, how do you feel when people label you or stereotype you and group you in with these run of the mill, side of the street psychics? How do you feel when they just put you in that category?
It upsets me, but it also makes me extremely angry. Really, I blame Hollywood because, there's a lot of mileage, I guess, is probably a good expression. We can make a psychic look as somebody reading a crystal ball. It's always the evil person is the psychic. And it's really not that at all. So it upsets me and it angers me and it makes me cry. I've actually cried tears when I have been speaking to people who've been robbed of thousands of dollars because they've been told that they have a dark cloud or a spell on them. And it would just break your heart. And sometimes, occasionally, I've given somebody a little bit of a price break. Usually I tend to do that with long-standing clients. But I'm a little bit of a soft heart, I guess you would say.
I understand. Okay, and there was some point that in our conversation you mentioned clients say to you, learn to read the tarot in a day. Can you elaborate more on that? What does that mean?
Yes, I mean, to me, this is just a prime example of people trying to steal from others. There is no way my tarot teacher would be bouncing off the walls if she could hear this. There is just no way you can learn tarot cards in a day. That is just a complete cop-out. And anybody who says you can, I'm sorry, you should just turn and walk the other way. Don't pay those people any money because it's not legitimate.
Interesting. And I think you mentioned some of this earlier, but I want to reiterate once again. What type of credentials do you have?
Okay, well, I'm board certified as a psychic medium. I trained at the Holistic Studies Institute in Midtown Manhattan under the direction of Reverend Stephen Robinson. It was a wonderful school, wonderful classes. I trained for about 4 years in all levels of psychic development. We were given exams in ethics of spirituality, the same exams that are given to psychologists, therapists, etc. And I passed those exams and got my credentials. And then after that, we worked at becoming ministers. I'm a founding member of the Spiritualist Church of New York City, which currently we're part of a church on the Upper West Side, and we're looking for other premises, but that's where we've held most of our services. So those are my certifications, and the board certification does come from the Holistic Studies Institute. I was also lucky enough to have been asked to train budding psychics, which I did. And so I did some training levels 1 through 3 of psychic development classes, and also advanced trance and physical mediumship. And so I did those classes too. I haven't done those recently because there hasn't been time because of the pandemic. But the classes at HSI are wonderful. So, you know, it's a very, very ethical place to be, and that's what sold me in the first place, and that's what's kept me there.
Interesting. And how long have you been a psychic?
I was ordained as a spiritualist minister in 2007 at a church in Midtown. I have been psychic all my life, and it runs in my family. We're all psychic to a degree, but it's like anything else. You know, Barbra Streisand didn't just come in with this wonderful voice. She had to be trained. And even Picasso took art classes, so he wasn't Picasso straight away. That came over a period of time. So bit by bit, we learn to meditate. Meditation is very important because that helps break through one's psychic abilities, and it has all sorts of health benefits too, so I would encourage people to meditate wherever possible.
Mm-hmm. And you said you're affiliated with a church? What domination of
Well, it's the religion is spiritualism. And this is where people, I think, get a little bit confused, because the street psychics will say, I'm a spiritual advisor, or I'm a spiritualist. Mm-hmm. It's not that. Spiritualism is a religion all on its own, the same way that Catholicism or Judaism is. We are spiritualists. It's not a spiritual church, it is a spiritualist church. The religion is spiritualism, and it has been to the fore since the 1800s, the religion of spiritualism. So there's a lot to read. It's not I guess in the fullness of things, it is a fairly newish religion. We do believe in the ability to communicate with those who've passed away. Mm-hmm. There are other religions that have that same belief system. Mm-hmm. The Wiccan religion, I think, is another one of those. We share the belief of being able, being psychic and being able to do psychic things.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And, I think that some people might want to ask you a question like, can you foretell a future? Or can you tell if I'm going to be rich? Or, you know, are you able to do things like that?
I try to discourage the... It's like my father will ask me a question of who's going to win the Kentucky Derby, and I don't take that seriously. That's what I try to do, is to help foretell the future for a person and put their mind at ease with whatever issues are going on with them. But to come in with stock tips and who's going to win the horse race, that's not something I want to get involved with, because that, to me, tends to make fun of what I do. And I probably can't do that. I haven't really tried, and I'm not going to get, I have boundaries, like everything. Right. The same way that if somebody comes to me and asks, is my husband cheating on so-and-so? Well, again, there has to be a boundary. I might see the person's husband is cheating, but I don't want to get into who it's with or their relationship or anything. There's a line that I can't cross.
Okay. And do you feel clients, when they ask you to perform some form of psychic on them, I guess if I'm phrasing that properly, do you feel like they're testing you, or how do you feel about that?
Funny you should say that. If I start to feel we're playing Test the Psychic, it closes me right down, and I say to them, we're playing Test the Psychic here, and I'm not going to participate in this, because it's going to close me down. If I suspect that, it's only happened a couple of times, but if I suspect that, I'm not going to play. I'm not going to be involved in that.
Okay. And the information that you provide your client comes from where? A feeling, or something hits you at the time? How do,
I'm a clairvoyant, which is clear seeing, and I'm clairaudient, which is clear hearing. So I tend to close my eyes and see things in my mind's eye, and I hear. I have spirit guides I work with, a couple of men I knew in life, and my mother comes in and helps me as well occasionally. And I say a prayer before every client. I meditate on them, and often what I ask them to do is let me do all the talking. Don't say anything other than yes or no to any questions I might ask, but I tend not to ask any questions. You can ask your questions after I finish speaking. Do not feed the psychic. I'm not being psychic if I just give you your, answers back to the story you've just told me.
Oh, okay. Understood. And when you're performing these psychic abilities on clients, if I'm saying that correctly.
Yes.
These abilities, you said, come to you from your visioning, your conversations with the client and that sort of thing, right?
Yes, it's a mental mediumship. There are readings where you have contact with the client's deceased relatives, or there's a psychic reading, which means I'm answering your questions or problems that you have on a day-to-day basis. So there's two different kinds of psychic stuff, if you like. I'm trained in both of them.
And let me ask you, what would you say to people that say, oh, this is hogwash, or they don't believe it? Does it require you to have a belief in what's going on and the psychic ability in order for you to be able to perform your psychic skills? Or whether a person believes it or not, you're able to give them advice?
Well, what I say to people, I have very well-meaning people who will buy a half hour with me as a gift. And I always say to the person, does the person know you're doing this? Do they have a belief in this? Or are you just trying to convince them? Because if you're trying to convince them, I won't read for them. I'll pick that up straight away. It's like trying to read through a big, thick cloud. I can't get past there has to be a clear channel between me and the client. If you're coming to me just for me to prove something to you, then please save your money. Don't come and see me.
Excellent, excellent. So you're not there just to take someone's money.
Oh, you know something? I would, in a heartbeat, if I had the time. I have another friend as well, and we've often spoke about the fact that we would like to get to the person in New York, I don't know who that would be, not coming from New York originally, who would help us make sure that New York would license all of the psychics, because that way nobody would get cheated, everybody would have to declare their income, there wouldn't be people, taking money from people and absconding, and I wouldn't have to pick up the pieces along with the other legitimate psychics that I'm friends with, of all these people who've been scammed and robbed and lied to and cheated. That's really what it comes down to in a nutshell. I would love for psychics to be licensed. All of them.
That makes sense.
Yes.
And you've been in this business, you said, since 2007.
Yeah, I have was ordained then. So my as a spiritualist minister, and I've helped run services and seances as well. Seances now are on Zoom every 2 Fridays a month. I have psychic events, and I do readings from my office at the Grey Bar building, which is right near Grand Central Station in the city.
Oh, okay. And with your 15 years of experience, right? About
Yes.
15 years of
Yes.
experience, I'm assume that, like any other business, people leave reviews.
Oh, yes.
And how are your reviews going over 15 years? You should have quite a few.
I do, and this is another love-hate relationship I have, particularly with Yelp, because Yelp doesn't... in England, there's another review site where they make sure you've had the service before you leave the review. Here, I've heard that it's an occupation where people are paid to leave phony reviews. So I've had 1 or 2 reviews from people who I have no knowledge of. They have no knowledge of me at all, and a couple of them tripped themselves up in what they've said. But other than that, my average is 4.5 out of 5.
Wow.
And that's
and
over
for a 15-year experience.
Over 15 years, 4.5 is my average. I would love to remove those other 2 reviews, but I can't. And that's on Google as well. So yes, that's, I know some psychics will not have reviews left publicly. They make sure all the reviews come to them, and then if there are any 1-stars, they just get rid of them, and they just keep the 5-star ones on their site. But that's not me. I want people to see what I am, and I will answer and respond to every review, whether it's legitimate or not. I have nothing to hide.
Outstanding. That's amazing.
Thank you.
And let me ask you, what is the percentage of people that come back to you after having a reading?
It's funny, I was thinking about that the other day. I would say I can't really remember somebody who hasn't been back at least twice.
Wow.
Out of all of the... and after I appeared on Housewives of New York City, I got completely slammed with work.
Really?
And,
so you've actually appeared on a television show?
Oh, yes. That was... it was filmed in Salem, Massachusetts, which is another place I've worked at between 2008 and 2016. And the very nice guy who runs things there, Christian Day, very nice man, he asked me to appear with a co-worker on Housewives of New York City. So we filmed that in November of 2020, I think it was. and the episode appeared on Bravo on July the 21st. It's called The Witching Hour, very aptly named, and it showed about 10 minutes of my co-worker Michael and I reading for the ladies at the Housewives of New York City, and that was a very fun work experience too.
And this is a reality show.
Oh, it's a reality show, yes.
That's what's interesting about this.
Oh, yes.
And
there's been other events as well, but
right,
that's the main one.
That's what my next question was. Have you done other things in other shows? I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think I've had or seen some form of business come to you and ask you to give them a spiritual reading on a location. Like if something happened, and I think it was in Long Island City, where you went to a building.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
That was in 2007, and my main co-worker, Deborah, and I went to the building, and we had to walk around and give our impressions. And there is a YouTube video, I think. It was some kind of, it's a little while ago, so forgive me, I'm a little bit faded with it, but it was 2007. It was a building in Long Island City. It was a creative building, and we walked around and gave our impressions, and again, there was a YouTube video.
Nice, nice. Is there anything else you would like to tell the audience?
I would like to mention the other things first that I've been involved with. I've been, as I said, in Salem, Massachusetts, co-conducting seances and reading every October between 2008 and 2016. It's the Festival of the Dead. I was one of the people featured in the New Yorker magazine article about the Psychics of New York in October 2018. And then I had a little mention in the London Sunday Times travel section story of a London woman's post-divorce blowout in New York City, and that was in September 2019. The New York Post article of 2019, business is booming for New York psychics, and that was amid the COVID-19 initial panic. And also in the Village Voice. Also, I have something coming, a couple of podcasts, but I have something coming up at the end of 2024. It's a docu-series. It's a look at, a proper look at psychics and mediums, a serious look at psychics and mediums, and it's going to be on Hulu. And that's all the information I have at the moment.
Nice.
It's early days, as you can imagine.
Mm-hmm. I see something here, Court TV and True TV. Tell us about your experience with that.
Yeah, that was just a representation. This was in the early days of becoming a psychic. That was in the middle of my training, actually, 2004, 2005. I was about halfway through my training, and there were 50 psychics chosen to help open the third and fourth seasons of Court TV's renamed True TV, psychic detective show. Also, one psychic was chosen at the fall 2007 promotion of Desperate Housewives for ABC TV. So, I've definitely earned my wings. I've definitely not just arrived in a vacuum. I've done all my work over a very long period of time. There's always going to be the naysayers, and the proof of the pudding is in the eating. I've had one client in particular came to see me a year ago, and I gave her advice and guidance and some referrals and things to help her. And she came to see me again a few months ago in tears with a huge bouquet of flowers.
Wow.
And I said, "What's this for?" She said, "Because You changed my life. She burst into tears. She said, you changed my life. You gave me the name of a great resource, and he was able to help me. And I just said, look, you did the work. All I did was give you the tools.
Right.
You could be like most people and say, yeah, thank you very much. But you took it and you ran with it. So you're the one who did the work, not me.
Marion, Reverend Marion.
Thank you.
I have to say, this has been a pleasure, the interview. I thank you for coming on to the podcast. What part of the game is that? And ladies and gentlemen, now you know you cannot stereotype everybody just by a title.
Can I give my phone number and website at this point?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Go ahead and give it now.
Thank you. TheBritishPsychic.com is my website. My phone number is 917-621-5580. And my email address is M as in Marion Hedger, that's HED as in door, G as in girl, ER, 374 at AOL.com. And it's been a real pleasure. Thank you very, very much.
You're quite welcome. Did you also include your address and location in the city? Do you have a location in the city?
Yes, I do. I'm probably the only psychic, especially one with a purple office, in the Grey Bar building, which is a 32-story building right next to Grand Central Station. I think it used to be a Con Edison building in the 20s or 30s, 32-story building. I'm on the 14th floor. Appointments available by request. Probably I will be working that day, so any day that you call, so please leave a message and I will call you back just as soon as I'm able. Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome, Marion. And once again, we'd like to thank you for coming on to What Part of the Game Is That? And this is a lesson in itself. Don't judge everyone by a title. Get to know and check for credentials. We check for credentials on everything. Construction workers, lawyers, every profession. We check for credentials. And Marion's here to set the record straight. She has credentials as well. So, for those that do not check credentials, what part of the game is that? Thanks again, Reverend Marion Hedger, for coming on the podcast. Now you heard it from the Reverend Marion Hedger herself, who asked the question, why don't you check for credentials of psychics first before labeling them as you would any other profession? What part of the game is that? To respond to this podcast, call the studio at 212-718-0330. T-shirts are now available by calling 212-718-0330. This is your host, OG Goat, and we're moving on.